Gerald Swets,
Present.
Christian Jorgensen,
Present.
Mike Bovat,
Present.
Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
Ann Oster,
Present.
Bill Manasopoulos,
Present.
Joe Svetnoff,
Present.
and Beth Hernandez, present.
Moving to item 4, election of officers. At this time, I'd like to entertain a nomination for president for the Redevelopment Commission for 2024.
I nominate Mike Bovat for president.
Second.
Are there any other nominations for president for Redevelopment Commission? If not, I have a first, I have a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? Could we have a roll call, please?
Gerald Swets, I'm sorry, Mr.
The aye.
Aye, okay. Christian Jorgensen,
Aye.
Mike Bovat,
Aye.
Wayne Pondinas.
Aye.
Ann Oster,
Aye.
The motion carries. Mike Bovat will be the president for the Redevelopment Commission for 2024. Election of a vice president for the Redevelopment Commission for 2024.
I nominate Christian Jorgensen.
I second the motion.
Are there any other considerations for nomination for vice president? I have a first and I have a second for Christian Jorgensen. Could I have a vote? Roll call, please, Ms. Beth?
Gerald Swets,
Aye.
Christian Jorgensen,
Yes.
Mike Bovat,
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
Ann Oster.
Yes.
And Mr. Swets, can I just verify your vote, please?
That was a yes and aye.
Okay, thank you.
Motion carries. Mr. Jorgensen will be the Vice President of the Redevelopment Commission for 2024. Moving to item 5, approval of the minutes, A/12/18/2023 special meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Could I have a roll call, please, Ms. Beth?
Gerald Swets,
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen,
Yes.
Mike Bovat,
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
And Ann Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries. 5-0. Is that correct, Ms. Beth?
I believe so.
Moving on to item 6, old business. Is there any old business? Moving to item 7, new business. A, consider approval of professional services agreement with Baker Tilly to serve as a financial advisor for the Redevelopment Commission for the year 2024. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve professional services agreement with Baker Tilly to serve as the financial advisor for the Redevelopment Commission for the year 2024.
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Could I have a roll call, please?
Gerald Swets,
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen,
Yes.
Mike Bovat,
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
And Ann Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 8, reports and correspondences. Any reports or correspondences? Item
If you don't mind.
for the redevelopment commission?
Oh, no, not for the redevelopment commission.
Okay.
That's right. Hold on. Yep, sorry.
No, we're good.
Jumping ahead.
You're good. Item 9, any public comment for the redevelopment commission? No comment? Item 10, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Ms. Beth, roll call, please.
Gerald Swets,
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen.
Yes.
Mike Bovat,
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
And Ann Oster.
Yes.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned to the Redevelopment Commission. I'd like to call the order the St. John Town Council meeting for January 24th, 2024. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could you please remain standing just for a moment of silence, please? Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Beth?
Gerald Swets,
Here.
Christian Jorgensen,
Present.
Mike Bovat,
Here.
Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
Ann Oster.
Present.
Bill Manasopoulos. Joe Svetnoff.
Here.
And Beth Hernandez, present.
Mr. Vice President, did you want the floor?
If you don't mind, Mr. President, there was a few things that I wanted to address before we got started and went into public comment. If you'd all indulge me a little bit. Our last meetings, there was quite a bit going on, and a lot of different issues have taken place since then. So if you'd indulge me, I'd like to address a few of them. First of all, for Attorney Svetnoff, I'd asked last time for a report and summary with regard to the litigation that was going on in the town. That was received. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I would suggest, based upon your summary, that an executive session be called at one point, Billy, so we can discuss that issue and try to get some resolution. That's the first issue. Second of all, still addressed to you, Attorney Svetnoff, with regard to Earl Drive. I think we've had a discussion with regard to this issue. Previous council wanted to purchase Earl Drive. The way I read it, not only as a council person, but as an attorney myself, and if you agree, purchase is unnecessary. There was an easement granted, and through that plat, we have right of enforcement. The grantor of that easement is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of that road. Am I correct, Mr. Svetnoff? Okay. What I would like the council to direct and do is to issue a letter to the grantor of that easement to, as soon as the weather permits, to repair that portion of drive to a good and workable condition. If not, the town will undertake to do so itself and then charge the grantor for that amount.
As was discussed in our November 21st, 2023 letter addressed to the former council.
Right. I find there'd be no need for us to spend that kind of money when somebody has already undertaken to make those repairs. And as soon as weather permits, do so. So with respectfully, Mr. President and the rest of the council, if you have Mr. Svetnoff send a letter directing that grantor to do so, and if not, we will take care of it and get it done in the spring.
We would like the attorney to do that.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Okay. Third, with regard to the complaint that everybody is aware of, with regard to our January 1st and January 2nd meetings, I want everybody to know that we file a response through Mr. Svetnoff, and we will be awaiting an opinion from the public access counselor. Once the public access counselor issues his opinion, we will publish it, even though it's going to be public knowledge anyway. We will publish it immediately with our response and hopefully finally put that issue to bed. With regard to that, because it's in the sense of ongoing litigation, we can't really discuss anything else about it other than we believe will prevail and there won't be an issue. But until that time, we will wait, and we will let everybody know immediately as soon as that opinion is issued. And that was filed today, correct, Mr. Svetnov?
Correct.
Okay. With regard to the change of fire department leadership, a couple of things that I wanted folks to know and get clarified. Besides the fact that Mr. Leduc would not live in our town, and for all the issues that Mr. Bovat has already indicated to the public in our last meetings, we have a problem with the budgets for both police department and fire. Both of those budgets exceed our annual levy. So, quite frankly, there is no more money to spend on either department's budget. Now, because of that, one of the easiest and most reasonable cost-saving measures we could come up with was to change leadership in the fire department and make that part-time and actually save that money immediately. How we're going to go about dealing with the amounts of those two budgets going forward is something we're working on. Certainly, Mr. Manasopoulos is working on it as well, and we'll get it worked out with the police and fire departments. But that's something I think the public should know and why we're in the position that we're in. So there simply, if there is no more money, there can't be any more money to spend. So it was an easy cost-saving measure for us to make early on. Can't do that with the police department, but we could with the fire department. So that's one of the other reasons. With regard, and I'm trying to move as quickly as I possibly can so we don't keep you here forever. With regard to the park board superintendent, that previous park board superintendent and the council prior to us had allowed a budget that was overextended and was not balanced. Because of that, the state rejected $100,000 of it, and we're in a deficit of $100,000 in the park board. The easiest cost-saving measure we could come up with, because of the $100,000 that the state would not permit us, was to eliminate that position. So again, this isn't anything malevolent on our part. It's a matter of keeping our town solvent, which I'll get to at the end, and not to inhibit any services. So we think the services will be fine, everything will be kept up, and that again was a cost-saving measure that was inherited from our previous council and that park superintendent. They take $100,000 from us, we have to find it from someplace else. So that made reasonable sense to us. With regard to the US 41 TIF fund and that depletion and whether or not we'll be able to complete road work and why that was an issue to begin with in our first two meetings. We were fully aware of the big box appeals that were occurring. That was 2 councils ago, at least, if not 3. I believe it was when I was still on the council 8 years ago. We had a surplus reserved for the fact that there could possibly be a successful appeal and that we would have to pay. That surplus was depleted by the previous council. So there was nothing left to use. So because of that, we're stuck in a position to find other funds and other ways to pay for road completion work and the other projects that we had there. If you don't have a surplus in funds, if you don't reserve them, and you go through them for other business, this is what ends up happening, and we have to deal with it. But I thought the public should know that's what happened. There was a surplus, there was a reserve fund for that purpose of the tax appeal, and it was depleted. So we do not have it anymore. And because of that, we're going to have to find other means to take care of it. So I wanted to make sure that you all understood why we're making those measures. With regard to the Stormwater Board, the Stormwater Board is not required by statute. Am I correct, Mr. Svetnov? The Stormwater Board is not required by statute, right? Right. So stormwater board's not required by statute. It appears to us, and again, I can't say one way or another if this is a fact or not, but the stormwater board that was created did enact a tax. You may or may not have seen it on your bill, but there is one. Whether or not it was used to insulate the council from passing a tax, I don't know. I mean, so I can't say so. And maybe it's my opinion that it was, but it would only be my opinion. In either way, it's an unnecessary board, it's superfluous, and we don't need it. The tax is there, and we'll see what it is that we can do about it going into the future. But again, we're taxed with trying to streamline the budget here and also the spending and the excess spending that had occurred previously to us, and that's another means to do it. Not only that, it's difficult to find people to serve on an unnecessary board. Finally, and this is probably the hardest thing to discuss, is the personnel policy changes, which weren't major in our original ordinance, but again, came about because of the deficit that we have in the town. I can tell you from January till now, and looking at what the budget is that was passed by the previous council for us, we have a budget year of $8,150,000 and change. The expenses projected are $9,100,000. We are $1 million in the hole as it stands right now. That is a fact, and those are the numbers, and there's no getting around it. Our cash on hand is $2,762,000. If we make up the deficit in the expenses that have been budgeted now for 2024 that we had nothing to do with, we'll deplete our cash on hand by another $1 million, leaving us only with $1,700,000, right? If that occurred again and another $1 million was used on cash on hand, that's again without accumulation, we would be close to insolvency. So I don't use that term lightly. I think you all know what insolvency means, but that's 2 years away if we don't do something. But these are straight numbers. These are all, available to the public. But you can't bring in total revenue of $8 million and your expenses be $9 million and not know that that money has to come from someplace else. Anybody who's balanced a checkbook knows that. That is the reason why we've made some of the policy changes we had to make. They're difficult and they're going to be ongoing. There'll probably be more of them. But we are faced with what we have and the money in cash on hand. And if we don't do something, then we will be in a bigger hole. So with that somewhat somber news, and that I thought you should all know, I pass it back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President Jorgensen. And I want the town to know that, we have an understanding of this. And when you look at everything as a whole, there's capital budgets, operating budgets. We have a plan, we have a course of action to restore everything, and we're gonna be fine. But it's just gonna take a while to get us back to where we need to be. And I appreciate comments from the Vice President. It dovetails into our next item on the agenda, public comment, similar to what our Vice President has just done. Item 4, Ms. Beth, do we have anyone for public comment?
Do you have Dawn Pelk?
If you could please approach, give us your name and your address, please. And we're keeping the comments to 3 minutes. Thank
Okay.
you.
Good evening, my name is Dawn Pelk. My address is 12701 Rosewood Court. I come to you tonight to discuss what I thought was going to be a incident that was on December 26th, which I and my dog got attacked by another dog, and law enforcement was called in, and I was not notified by the animal control until January 3rd. So I see that we have more pressing problems than a dog attack, but to me, this is kind of morphed into something more than a dog attack because it actually is more of a policy, procedure, and ordinance situation. And the reason I said that is when I picked up the police report, the reason I was not contacted was because the officers that collected my information on the scene did not write down my phone number, and therefore they were trying to call a disconnected phone number that was disconnected 10 years ago, which the devil is in the details. I find that a little alarming that our police officers aren't taking good notes on the scene of a incident. So fast forward with that, I was told that I had to go get a dog license, which is fine, and I did. And in the meantime, I asked about the ordinance. The clerk deputy, one of the deputies there, had no idea what the ordinance was. She sent me off without any information, but she decided at midnight that night that she would represent the clerk treasurer's office and get a hold of me then. And her name's Kathleen Balicki. And I have the screenshot of all this. I find it disturbing that she would go on social media. I don't know if that's in the policy and procedure book, that town employees can just act on their own to address public business or town business on her own accord at midnight. And then when I went to ask and follow up on what she had written, then she had me blocked off of social media. So I don't know if that is, if she's acting on the behalf of the town or herself. But I find it a little disturbing. Maybe a policy or a redo of the handbook would be in order. And furthermore, when I was talking to the town manager, as far as ordinances, and this is the dog ordinance, but I'm sure it goes for all ordinances in town. What good is an ordinance if there's no compliance? Because when I asked the clerk deputy how they found out about this, she had no idea. So I am offering the town at no cost to help out with that situation. If I can go with maybe Gerald Sweats or one of the councilmen, I will literally go door to door to help everybody comply. Because I bought a dog license, did everybody else in town that has a dog buy a license. Do you understand what I mean? Like, it's a situation with policies and procedures, communication with the police department. So, I mean, I think maybe some training might be in order for some of the employees.
Ms. Pelk, could you share whatever the comments were that
Yeah.
were disturbing to you, please? Thank you, I appreciate it.
The comments from Kathleen Balicki. Okay, her comments weren't, the actual comments were fine. She just went ahead and said she empathized with me, but she was in a horrible situation with the dog attack herself, which to me that sounds like she's now making it personal. Then she goes on to say that residents are required with the proof of the rabies and all that, which that part is fine. But I'm just a little bewildered why at midnight she would take it on her own to act on behalf of this department of the town. And then I just said, Kathleen, are you posting, you're posting my thread, and I'm just wondering, are you posting as a official, authorized personnel of the clerk's office or as a neighbor? Because it's on the Nextdoor app. And then that's when she went ahead and had me blocked. So I just find that very disturbing. I mean, is she doing this to other people?
So, and I did speak with Ms. Falcon. She came by the office. The ordinance that we went over is on the books. I was contacted by the clerk's office to help out with getting you the information that you needed. They had called me shortly right after that. As far as going door to door, I don't know, and maybe Joe can look it up for, if you want to volunteer some time. but I don't know what the.
Okay, I don't necessarily mean I have to go door to door.
Yeah, but that's what you said, but if you
But
give
I'm
me
just
one
saying, if there's a way, because I asked Kathleen Balicki,
Right.
what is the process and the protocol for doing this, and she has no idea.
So if she was on the Nextdoor app,
Yeah.
I don't think at midnight she was in her capacity.
Yeah, Billy, I appreciate that. Ms. Pelk, thank you.
That's
For
fine.
bringing that to the town council. And if you don't mind, perhaps after the meeting to get with the town manager.
Sure.
We will follow up on that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Beth?
Petro?
Good evening, Councilman,
Good evening.
Council Lady. Today, I have two things.
Your name again?
Oh,
And your address, please.
Cecile Petro, 8541 Fairway Drive. And I have two items I'd like to bring to your attention tonight. The first one, I talked with our town manager a little bit after our last meeting, and this concerns the Shared Ethics Advisory Commission. You participate in that commission. I'm a volunteer for that commission. It's completely volunteer, and what we try to do is train trainers within the units of government in the three-county area to train their government employees. And part of that job is a liaison that would be someone that the town council would recommend to be on the commission, and they would be the go-between so that we would know what's going on in St. John, how well the training is going, and that you have trainers trained. And the second person would be the financial side of our organization. So that is usually the clerk treasurer or someone within the council that has some accounting experience. Those are the two. The accounting side is called the Board of Delegates. So we would need a person appointed by the council for that position. Ms. Hernandez has said that she would like to be on that part of the commission. And then we also have the regular commissioner, so that would be somebody from the community who has interests in the ethical behavior of our municipal employees, and that that person then would act as a go-between, because as I said, everybody's a volunteer, and we can't possibly be with 23 different units of government. If I could, I'd like to share the pamphlet with you.
Yeah.
This is our code of ethics. I am the training chair of the organization, so I do some trainings for the trainers, so I'm the train the trainers person. We can do those in your organization. I can come to the town of St. John. I've gone to several places, units of government already, and have trained trainers. We can also do it online. So I hope you would be able to make those appointments very soon. It helps our organization keep going, and it also is a good investment for the money that you give to the Shared Ethics Advisory Commission. So if you could make that within, your next meeting, I'd really appreciate that very much.
We will definitely look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The second item I'd like to talk about is the area where I live is Fairway Drive. It's off of West 85th Street. It is extremely difficult for us to get out of our development. That Fairway Drive development is 48 homes. We have one exit out to 85th Street. We can't get out any other way. It took me tonight, a little before 6 o'clock, I timed it, 2.5 minutes for me to get out of my development. In the morning from 7 o'clock to 9, it can be 5 minutes. Same thing when school gets out at Lake Central until 6 o'clock at night. We are prisoners in our development during those times. It's extremely difficult. I spoke many years ago when Lake Hills was being developed, and I told them this is going to be a problem for our development. You have 2 exits for Lake Hills going on 85th Street, but we don't have any way to get out They have 3. They have 2 off of 85th plus another one off Deodore, I think it is. So it is very, very hard for us. I would appreciate it if you could do a vehicle count. I know that in the morning, cars go all the way from our development all the way to Austin, at least. And that is over half a mile. So we just cannot get out. And we need a 3-way stop there. So I'd really appreciate if you could do a vehicle count and then come with a solution. But I think a 3-way stop would be the solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Mr. Manisopoulos, can you?
That's noted, Mr. President.
Ms. Beth? And you.
That's it.
That's it? That's it for public comment. Moving to item 5, approval of minutes. A, for January 1st, 2024, special meeting minutes. B, January 2nd, 2024, special meeting minutes. C, January 10th, 2024, study session minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt A, B, and C.
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. We have a roll call, please.
Gerald Swatz,
No.
Christian Jorgensen,
Yes.
Mike Bovat,
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
And Ann Oster.
Yes.
The motion carries 4-1 for approval. Item 6, old business. Old business. Item 7, new business. A, financial matters of corporation. I, consider approval of progress payment to FH Pension for the 93rd Avenue project in the amount of $181,385 and authorize the clerk treasurer to issue payment from the 2020 GO bond. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Sorry, Ann.
It's okay. I make a motion to consider approval of progress payment to FH Passion for the 93rd Avenue project in the amount of $181,385 and authorize the clerk treasurer to issue payment from the 2020 GO bond.
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Beth?
Gerald Swatz,
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen.
Yes.
Mike Bovat,
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
Ann Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 2, consider approval of progress payment to First Group for construction engineering for the 93rd Avenue project in the amount of $5,219.52 and authorize the clerk treasurer to issue payment from ARPA. Do I have a motion?
So moved. I mean, we have minutes, right? So I don't have to recite it all. Okay, so moved.
I second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Ms. Beth, can we have a roll call?
Gerald Swatz,
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen.
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
Mike Bovat.
Yes.
Ann Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 3, consider encumbrances for year 2023 totaling $4,399,682.10. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Can we have a roll call, please, Ms. Beth?
Gerald Swatz,
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen.
Yes.
Mike Bovat.
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
Ann Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 4, request to purchase. There are a total of 7 requests to purchase and the combined total of $104,407.14 for approval. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, having reviewed the request, I make a motion to approve.
I second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Beth?
Gerald Swatz,
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen.
Yes.
Mike Bovat.
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
Ann Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5, accounts payable voucher dated January 24th, 2024, representing payment for payroll, supplies, services, and equipment rendered to the town of St. John in the combined total of $3,531,177.73. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable voucher dated January 24th, 2024, representing payment for payroll, supplies, services, and equipment rendered to the town of St. John in the combined total of $3,531,177.73.
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Ms. Beth, could we have a roll call, please?
Gerald Swatz,
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen.
Yes.
Mike Bovat.
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
Ann Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item B, consider approval and authorization for the clerk treasurer to delete inactive, obsolete, or other certain utility customer accounts. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved on that. Item B.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Ms. Beth, can you have a roll call, please?
Gerald Swatz, I'm sorry, can you say,
Yes.
yeah, thank you. Christian Jorgensen.
Yes.
Mike Bovat.
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
And Ann Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item C, consider waiving refuse late charge penalties for utility customers for the month of January 2024. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, just for a little explanation on what happened there. Delivery with receipt was given to us from the post office on December 28th. The water bills went from St. John to Hammond to Bedford Park to Gary and then back to St. John. Somewhere in the mix there was a delay, and that's why they hit the homes late.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Well, I will entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Ms. Beth, can we have a roll call, please?
Gerald Swatz,
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen.
Yes.
Mike Bovat.
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
And Ann Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item D, consider write-off of unpaid refuse charges and penalties in the amount of $118. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to consider write-up of unpaid refuse charges and penalties in the amount of $118.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Ms. Beth, can we have a roll call?
Gerald Swatz,
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen.
Yes, but that's
Mike
a lot of
Bovat.
money.
Yes.
Thanks, Christian.
Sorry.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
And Ann Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item E, consider ordinance 1819, an ordinance amending the vacation policy for the St. John Fire Department.
Mr. President, when we were updating the personnel policy, we were unaware of an ordinance that had already existed that increased the firefighter vacation time. This amendment will match the ordinance increasing the vacation time for the firefighters to up to 360 hours.
Okay. Questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt Exhibit E.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Ms. Beth, could I have a roll call, please?
Gerald Swatz,
Yeah, I'm going to abstain on this one. I haven't had a chance to review it.
Is that a yea or nay?
He said he abstained.
Abstention.
I didn't hear it. Sorry.
okay, yeah, that was at the
It
study
was
session,
Darby.
but, Christian Jorgensen.
Yes.
Mike Bovat.
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas.
Yes.
And Ann Oster.
Yes.
The vote is 4-4 and 1 abstain. This is on first reading. Billy, if we could put that on the agenda for
It's
the
noted, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Town Councilman. Item F, consider ordinance 1820, an ordinance establishing the mobile integrated health fund number 2406.
This is also, Mr. President, it's just establishing a fund that allowed the clerk treasurer to place a place to deposit the grant monies upon receipt.
Good, thank you for that comment. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to consider ordinance number 1820, an ordinance establishing the Mobile Integrated Health Fund number 2406.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Ms. Beth, can we have a roll call?
Gerald Swatz? Christian Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mike Bovat?
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas?
Yes.
And Ann Oster?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 on first reading. Mr. Town Manager.
So a motion to adopt is now in order, Mr. President.
This is just the, pardon me, I'm sorry. This is just the fund to hold the grant money, correct?
Just, yes, as the monies come in, so the clerk, or clerk treasurer can have somewhere to deposit them.
Okay, so just to let, so the public and everyone else knows, this is an approval of the project or any of that. It's simply a repository for the fund, correct?
They need unanimous on second reading.
Okay. Okay.
Fine. And this will have to be also a second reading.
So it was 5-0, so you can make a motion for,
Not on this, it's just the first reading.
I'm sorry, yes.
To establish, just to go back from what we spoke about, just establishing the fund, which I didn't realize, we can establish the fund. We haven't even gotten to whether or not the whole program will be initiated. But we need a repository for the grant that they received. So it's got to go somewhere, so we have to create the fund.
Yeah.
So the clerk has some place to put it, and she'll assign a number to it. So on
So
that,
if we want to go ahead and basically adopt on second reading, we can do that tonight. We need to suspend the rules. We need to go ahead and have everybody vote. If there's a unanimous vote on suspending the rules, then we can go ahead and do a second reading tonight, which would expedite this process.
All right.
Yep. I make a motion to suspend.
I second.
I have a motion, I have a second to suspend the rules for ordinance 1820. Ms. Beth, could I have a roll call, please?
Gerald Swatz? Christian Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mike Bovat?
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas?
Yes.
Ann Oster?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Manasopoulos, for that.
Mr. President, I make a motion to adopt on second reading.
I second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Ms. Beth, could I have a roll call?
Gerald Swatz?
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mike Bovat?
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas?
Yes.
Ann Oster?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item G, consider ordinance 1821, an ordinance rezoning a portion of the Franciscan Alliance Incorporated site in the town of St. John from OS Open Space to C2 Highway Commercial District located approximately 710 feet east of US Highway 41 and approximately 975 feet south of 101st Place. 11.92 acres total. This comes as an unfavorable recommendation from the Plan Commission. I'll entertain a motion.
So, Mr. President, just so everyone is aware, these 11.92 acres that we're looking to change from open space to commercial C2 are the 11 acres that is on the back side of the property, which is already surrounded by commercial property.
Thank you for that input, Mr. Manasopoulos.
Mr. President, I'm going to make a motion to adopt ordinance 1821 for the rezone over the recommendation of the Plan Commission. And I'll wait for a second, then I'd like to explain why.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second your explain.
Okay, yeah, here's the explanation, and we've gotten some questions on this because, of course, Franciscan is primarily a 501c3, and this is our TIF district, and people have said a lot of different things about collection of commercial and our dire need of commercial enterprises here in St. John, which is desperately lacking. We know that. Two things that I would like the public to understand. One, a project like this and an organization like Franciscan, with the number of people and flow that will come in to an organization like this, will draw, and historically has drawn, additional commercial projects to a town. You can look no farther than Munster as a good example, or several others. It's, you give a little, get a little. Call it a lost leader if you'd like, or not, but it's an attraction for additional commercial. And that's the first point, which hopefully everyone understands, because with the influx of people is an interest in other commercial enterprises that want to feed those people or provide other services for those people who enter our town. That's the thinking there. The second thing is that there are some aspects, and Mr. Svetnoff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there are other aspects of Franciscan's project that can be taxable depending on what it is that they are, office buildings, things like that. Now, that's above my pay grade as an attorney, so I'm not quite sure, but I think, Mr. Svetnoff, if you can.
It all depends on how the property's classified, but usually traditionally in these developments, you have a hospital and you have other office buildings around it. The other office buildings on property would be considered taxable themselves. So not only would you have taxable property on the project itself, potentially, but then surrounding it as well, that would create the desire to develop in and around that area. So, which could lead to two taxable sources.
I agree. So anyway, that's the reason for my motion over the Plan Commission's recommendation. I think overall, it's going to be better for our town and attract more commercial use than not. So, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for that input, and I'd also like to comment that what we're voting on here is just a zoning change. And so that would help for the Franciscan to bring forth a more vulnerable plan that we could look at and explore, but this is just a zoning change.
Correct. This is the first hurdle that Franciscan would have to get over. So there would be many more processes that they have to go through, but this leads them into getting engineering done, starting the whole project process and going forward from there. The zoning's the key, though.
Thank you for that, Mr. Svetnoff.
And Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Swets.
So the way I understood it, and so Mr. Svetnoff, I'd ask you to correct me if I'm wrong, but if we approve this tonight, we are also approving the concept that is in the drawings, which allows no commercial space along the 41 corridor. They're going to use up the whole thing for their clinic in the parking lot?
No, we're simply approving. Mr. Weiser, the attorney for Franciscan, is in the crowd. Would you like to address that?
Yeah,
Come up to the
Mr.
podium,
Weiser, if
please.
you would like to comment, please. Sure. Mr. Swets, Mr. Weiser is going to explain.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Jim Weiser, I'm the attorney for the project. This is the concept plan. Everyone likes to know what is in your mind. What do you think, if you're going to get this rezoning, what do you think this project's going to look like? How is it going to take shape? There is no approval of the concept plan tonight. You were right, Mr. Chairman. It is simply approving the zone change for the 11.92 acres to the same zoning that the other 21 acres that's already there is zoned, commercial. That's all that it does. It does not approve the concept plan. We'll have to come back, several more bites at the apple, as Joe said, to come back with our development plan, subdivision plan, plan commission. Yourself are all going to get an opportunity to look at that and then approve that portion of it.
Thank you for that, Mr. Weiser.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Did that clarify for you, Mr. Swets?
It does, thank you.
With that being said, consider ordinance 1821. We have a motion, we have a second. Ms. Beth, could we have a roll call, please?
Gerald Swatz?
Yes.
Thank you. Christian Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mike Bovat?
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas?
Yes.
Ann Oster?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. And Mr. Manasopoulos, if you could get that on the agenda for the next meeting, please.
I don't believe this one,
It doesn't,
It
this
doesn't-
one need a second reading. This one for a zone change. Correct, Mr. Svetnov?
Correct,
This
We
one
don't
doesn't
need a
need it.
second on this one?
correct.
Thank you. Motion carries. It will be adopted. Item H, consider acceptance of Greystone Unit 3, Block 3 Performance Surety in the amount of $13,200. Do you have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the performance surety.
I second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Ms. Beth, could we have a roll call, please?
Gerald Swatz?
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mike Bovat?
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas?
Yes.
And Ann Oster?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item I, consider approval of Robinson Engineering Task Order Number 24-01 and authorize the Town Council President to sign for 2024 Community Crossing Matching Grant, CCMG, resurfacing for a total amount not to exceed $230,000 with any item not listed to be billed at current per diem rate plus expenses with invoices to be submitted monthly on a percentage of completion basis.
I'll make a motion to approve item I, task order number 24-01.
I second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Ms. Beth, could we have a roll call?
Gerald Swatz?
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mike Bovat?
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas?
Yes.
Ann Oster?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item J, consider approval of the submittal of the Community Crossing Matching Grant application. The town is seeking the maximum grant amount of $1.5 million. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the submittal of that community crossing matching grant.
A second.
I second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Ms. Beth, could we have a roll call, please?
Gerald Swatz?
Yes.
Christian Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mike Bovat?
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas?
Yes.
And Ann Oster?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everyone. Item 8, reports and correspondence. A, Town Council. Any reports or comments from anyone?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. Over the last couple of years, we've been trying to get some water main projects done and hasn't worked out so good. So I'd like to thank this board, Haas Engineering, Robinson Engineering, McAlpine Engineering, for getting together to get 5 water main projects ready for bid. These projects have been laying dormant for years due to political infighting and maneuvering. These projects will now be going out for bid and hopefully be completed this year. I had a phone call in between the park board meeting and this meeting. Haas will have the drawings ready at the end of next week. And then the pre-bid construction meeting should be February 13th, which is a Tuesday at 1 p.m. And a week later, these projects could go out, will come back to the water board, and then they can acknowledge that, and then the engineer will look at it and say they're good, they meet their specs and everything. And in April, these projects should be able to start if everything goes well. And that's a great kudos to all 3 of those engineering firms. We didn't have to go and redo all the drawings. They come together and they come to this agreement, so I want to thank this board and again, the engineers I mentioned. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Pondinas. Anyone else? I'd just like to comment that this is our actual first town council meeting as a new board, and I'm pretty honored and feel very privileged to be here. Appreciate the input from Mr. Vice President Christian Jorgensen and his commentary and enlightening and bringing out that some of the circumstances that are involved. And I truly believe that this council is moving in the right direction. Like Mr. Pondinas just commented, we got the ball rolling. We're doing some things. I appreciate the efforts of our new town manager, Mr. Billy Manasopoulos. And any endeavor in life takes cooperation to be successful. And, you know, one thing that I'm grateful for is that we have such a good rapport with the clerk's office. I had the opportunity to go to Indianapolis for newly elected official training and to try and get some insight and some understanding on how I can better serve my constituents. And one thing that they really stressed is the necessity as a town council, the town manager, the clerk treasurer's office to work together. And I really feel confident and to have like a strong legal support system. Like we have Mr. Svetnov, a very, very experienced attorney, and it takes all of those efforts coming together. So I'm just very confident that we're going to be successful in the endeavors that we're moving forward. Anybody else? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
B, town manager, comments?
No reports at this time.
I think Jerry had something.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sweats?
Sir, yeah, I just had one point, and that's I was reviewing the study session, and there was an item there about the town investments where we've got, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, we've got like $6 million in investments, and I think it's important that that needed to come out in a public meeting as well. So,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sweats. Anyone else? Item B, town manager,
No reports at this time, Mr. President.
Ms. Beth, clerk treasurer.
No, but I can follow up with Mr. Swett's comments. We do have investments, and actually, one of them matured today, so we will be looking to reinvest those monies. As I mentioned at the study session, it's imperative, especially with rates where they are today, that we are taking any balances that we have afforded to us and we are investing them so we can get some return on those investments. Of course, it's something that we will discuss with the town manager's office to make sure that we aren't investing anything too long-term as far as being liquid is concerned. But yes, I definitely think as a municipality, it is wise to make sure we continue to invest the maximum we are able to invest.
Thank you for that, Ms. Beth. I'd like to, Mr. Svetnov, did you have any comments or care to say anything?
No, not at this time. I think everything's been covered. I just appreciate your leadership and the council's leadership in terms of these days. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Svetnov. Item 9, adjournment. Adjournment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Got a motion, I got a second. Can I have a roll call, Ms. Beth?
Gerald Swett? Christian Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mike Bovat?